What's up guys, Jivan back with another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about an interesting concept that I get asked about a lot. How and why did I build a fast and smooth playstyle? Before we hop into the video, please consider using code JivanTV in the Fortnite item shop. Currently we have like 400 people using my code. Thanks to everybody using it, it helps me out a ton. Without further ado, let's get into this video. Alright, so we're going to start out by talking about the benefits of having a smooth and fast playstyle. So there's two really big benefits. The first one is it'll help out your aim. When I get into a situation where I have a chance to take some shots, I always switch to the smoother playstyle because that helps me to slow down and line up my shots. The second really big benefit is being able to keep track of your opponents better. If you constantly play in a fast playstyle, it's a lot harder to keep track of where the opponent is for a lot of people. So having a smooth playstyle will help you to identify where the opponent is and keep track of them throughout a fight. And then, when you see an opportunity to piece control or to attack, you switch to that fast playstyle and you try to get them caught really quickly. Once you get them caught, you slow down, hit your shots. So that's the idea of why I use a smooth fast playstyle. Now let's talk about how I actually acquired this playstyle. First tip I have is for keyboard and mouse players. Using my arm for building really helped me gain this dual mindset playstyle. Because if you're trying to play smooth, you just move your arm in a smoother fashion. And then when you get to the flicky stuff, you start flicking your arm around, and it's a lot easier to switch between the two if you're using an arm playstyle. When you get into those aim situations, you can start kind of using your wrist to do micro adjustments, but using your arm overall will help you to switch between the two modes really easily. If you want to use an arm playstyle, you kind of need to have a lot of mouse space and a lower sensitivity. Now the next thing is build moves. Build moves make a really big difference as to whether you're going to have a smooth or fast playstyle. The way I acquired both was I taught myself a bunch of really smooth retakes, and what I mean by smooth is they don't require any super fast flicks, and if they do require flicks, it's just for a second, and then the rest of the retake is going to be slowed down and smooth movements. And this really helps you keep track of where the opponents are during a fight. If you're constantly flicking builds around, you're going to lose track of your opponent really quickly unless if you have the most god awareness of all time. So I taught myself smoother retakes like the ones I'm showing on screen right now. For example, high walls. High walls, you flick the high wall into place, but then the rest of the time is kind of slow movements, and while I'm doing those slow movements, I'm trying to track where the opponent is. And then also some of these other retakes I'm showing on screen. For example, if you saw my recent retake video, the spinning high wall move, this is a lot of really smooth movements, and you can keep track of where your opponent is while you're doing these spinning high walls. I have lots of retake tutorials on my page. I recommend going and checking it out, seeing if there's any retakes, that you want to add to your skill set. And the smoother ones usually are the ones that really help me out, specifically in Arena. One of the retake videos I did recently, which was Piece Control High Ground Retakes, Episode 2, has a lot of smooth retakes in there. So you could definitely go check that out and learn some of these retakes. The next step for learning this dual mindset is piece control. When I'm doing my piece control, it's usually really fast paced because, I'll be doing my high ground retakes, they're really smooth, I'll be tracking my opponent, but when I see an opportunity to piece control, that's when I'll switch to the really fast play style. Because when you see a piece control opportunity, you gotta do it fast before you miss it. So the way I got really fast piece control down was running through Raiders piece control practice maps, practicing piece controlling as fast as I could. Anytime I'd go into that map, I'd practice good technique, piece controlling from behind right hand peaks, and doing it as fast as possible. But then when I actually got the bots in that map piece controlled, I would slow down, make sure I set up a really nice right hand peak, and make sure I take time with my shot. Even though, the bots are standing still, it's really easy to hit those shots even when you don't slow down. Practicing slowing down will help train your mentality to slow down in-game, because in-game, the enemies aren't going to be standing still, and so you need to practice having trigger discipline, which basically means not clicking that shoot button right away. You want to make sure you have your shot lined up before you shoot. So practicing slowing your shots down in these practice maps can really help you out in game with trigger discipline. And now once you have those two things down in the practice maps, it's not going to apply to the game instantly. It takes a lot of training in 1v1s, I used to do a lot of 1v1s, and that's one of the things that actually got me to the point where I could apply the dual playstyle in Arena. I mainly just did build fights. I know a lot of people don't like build fights, because you have infinite mats and it's not very realistic. But that's how I was able to get these retakes down and know how to do them in an actual build fight. Because we all know in Arena, people are going to build fight you left and right in mid game. The reason why I feel like build fights help me a lot in Arena is because it helped me be able to end build fights in Arena way faster. Like if I didn't practice all these build fights in creative, I wouldn't know how to piece control the enemy during a build fight. But now after I've ran all those build fights in creative, when I get in one in Arena, usually I'm able to end it pretty fast. Build fights are one of my biggest strengths in Arena now. Like you'll see a lot of my Instagram clips will be build fights, I'll hit somebody with a high wall, get them full pieced up, and then bop them. And I wouldn't have been able to get that down if I didn't do a lot of build fights in creative. Practicing high walls, spinning high walls, all those piece control retakes that I taught in that video, I learned them all by practicing them in build fights in creative. So that's one good thing to actually start applying these things to Arena. But the last thing, and this is probably the hardest part, is training your mindset to have this dual playstyle. When you first start trying to play smooth and fast at the same time, it's going to be really hard because maybe you'll be doing some of these retakes and you're focusing so much on doing the retake that you lose track of your opponent because all of your attention is being put on the retake. That's 100% normal. The way you're going to get to the point where you can play smooth fast and do all these retakes in game is by getting through that rough patch where you're putting too much attention on the retakes and you're not putting enough attention on tracking the opponent. So one of the ways that I got comfortable doing this was I would focus on one retake at a time. When I started a game in Arena, I said, I want to try to do this retake, this match. I want to try to do it at least once successfully. And then, I would do that for a couple days and I'd move on to another retake. When I got on the battle bus, I'd be like, I want to do this retake successfully. And then eventually I'd get really comfortable with that retake. I'd know when I should actually do it. And it helped grow me as a player. I swear the biggest improvements that I've seen in my own gameplay from this last month was when I tried to do certain build moves that I had never done before. I would fail and fail and fail. But then once I did it successfully a few times, I saw major growth in my gameplay. So that's a really big way to improve. Now, another really big thing that helped me out was focusing on certain mindset tips while I'm on the bus that I want to improve on. So there was a time where I really wanted to improve my tracking of opponents during fights. I was struggling with it like crazy. So every single game for a while, I would just say when I got on the battle bus, I need to make sure that I'm tracking all of my opponents during fights. Put more attention on tracking them than anything, keeping my eye on the ball the entire fight. I did this for a solid week straight, and then after that week, I noticed myself finding more piece control opportunities, hitting more shots, outplaying my opponent more because I always had my eye on the ball and I never lost track of my opponent. So that's a mindset training tip that you need to do if you want to get this smooth, fast playstyle down, because that'll help you be able to keep track of your opponents while doing these retakes. And now the next mindset training tip that I recommend you do is practice slowing down when you're taking your shots. So when you get on the bus at the start of the game, tell yourself you need to slow down when you're taking shots. If you get your opponent full boxed, really take your time, line up that shot, make sure you hit it. If you get in a 50-50, get into aiming mode right away. Start slowing down your crosshair placement, tracking your opponent, and focusing only on your aim. Don't panic, just focus on your aim. This will help you out a lot. And now the last tip that you need to train yourself if you want to pick up this playstyle is practice switching between the modes. Focus on tracking your opponent for the first part of the fight, and then if you see an opportunity to piece control them, switch to fast mode right away. Go crazy edit coursing to them, applying those piece control practice tips that I talked about earlier in the video to get your opponent full boxed as fast as possible. Once you train yourself to be able to swap mentalities during a fight, you'll basically have the playstyle down. So what my fights look like is I'll start out playing smooth, I'm tracking the opponent, trying to look for opportunities to outplay them, and then as soon as I see one, I try to strike really fast. If I get my opponent full boxed or I have an opportunity to shoot, I instantly switch back to that smooth playstyle and try to line up my shots, focusing only on aim. But if I miss the opportunity and the opponent gets away, I instantly go back to tracking mode and try to look for another opportunity to piece control them. And then it's just a cycle, I see another opportunity, I switch to fast mode. It's just something that you gotta train. That's what my mindset looks like during fights. So if you guys are able to apply all this stuff to your gameplay, I guarantee it'll help you out I know this video was a lot of information really fast, but most likely a lot of you guys already have a lot of this stuff down, and it's just going to come down to applying it to your own gameplay. So what I recommend you do is just go back through this video, maybe grab a notebook, write down the different tips that I said throughout the video, and then as you get certain things down, just cross it out of your notebook and start applying it to your game. Guarantee you'll see improvements. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, use code JivanTV in the item shop, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.